Hey everyone, Dan here. Before we get into it, if you enjoy these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button. And keep in mind that these are my own thoughts, opinions, and ideas. These are not meant to be, nor should you take them as investment or trading advice in any way, shape, or form. Do your own due diligence, put in the work for yourself, and make your decisions based on that. Enjoy.
All right, folks, here we are on Sunday, January 26th. We're going to take a look at Lucid today. So I revised some of these fib extension levels on Lucid, and I also threw in basically a support level or a potential buy zone if it does dip below these fib extension levels, essentially then making these levels irrelevant. So let's dig in and sort of kick things off with where we are currently. So we see the motion as of late, right? It was up around this 321 level, came within just a couple pennies of it, retreated down, could not hold, though it tried to, that 298 level, right? Got a wick there, got up to 299, and just confirmed resistance on that, and then bled further down on the trading on the 22nd, and then 23rd, put in some support right off of that 261, and is building off of that at the moment, headed back toward, at least for now, that 293. So it'll be interesting to see, since it did sort of rush through there on this candle where it dropped over 4%, like at open on the 21st. Right, it came down and it dipped to like 280 or so, came back, and that's what reconfirmed resistance at that 298, and then it shed all of that price action down to 261. But it's showing strong recovery off that point at the moment, so we'll see if that can persist into early next week. Now, if it does, we have some levels above 298 and 321, which you can see on the chart. If it does put in a greater recovery, 340, it gets really sticky in the zone though, as you can see. So you have 321, or I guess, yeah, these are all pretty close in. 340, 359, 385, and then we get some room, 419, and then there is some space up to 516, 517, though I'm sure some resistance will develop probably sooner than later on this guy, like somewhere here in the 430 to 445 range would be my guess. So not so far away from that 419, if it can even get there. I know we're talking about prices that are way far away at the moment. But if we do get a lengthier run and something that's more sort of longer term recovery-ish, I mentioned 517, and then we have 675, 833, and 930. So we'll see if there can be any action up through there. There is still this gap up here that is not filled, right? This gap, for what it's worth, I guess it's partially filled, but this gap basically came down, just under 12% on this day, which in hindsight, not that crazy. But it left this gap that it would get into at about 889, and it would fill it at about 982. So that would be sort of like the push toward 10. But you see it just having no luck getting anywhere near that current price action. So those are the levels that I see. Oh, the green one down here. If it gets through this 261 and basically makes all of these levels irrelevant, there is potential for a strong pickup zone here at like 231. You see that trails back to here. And maybe even one before that, right around here at like 248, 250. Maybe that's sort of like the psychological 250 is more than anything that's what that is. So I didn't want to clutter it too much, and 250 felt sort of close to 261. So I put in the further away level of 231. So, I would just say, keep in mind 250, 231, and if it sheds that, there is maybe an approach to 2, basically an approach toward 2, like very low 2s would be a next potential, and psychologically makes sense, obviously. This 231 range or zone, I would say that probably stretches to the upside around 237 or so, and to the downside around 220. So like 220 to 237 or so sort of makes sense to me, but I just put a line in there instead of putting like a big box or something. But just know it's a range. It's not meant to be like an exact pinpoint of a measurement of a price. Okay, so on the EMA side of things, here's what we have. So we have, this is why I relentlessly talk about, one, how hard trend reversals are for stocks that look like this, right? It's incredibly difficult for them to get long-term price action above this gray 183, aka trend reversal. And furthermore, to not get fooled by just candles getting put in above that 183. What I preach always is dragging of the EMAs through the 183. And this certainly could have faked some folks out. But if you were being cautious on your entry, you would have been looking for this red 34 to also cross, right? Because then you have the full bullish formation. And that's the whole point. Trend reversal being difficult, you need the full bullish trend formation, which is the 8 above the 21, above the 34, and all of those above the gray 183. It's easy to get fooled by the candles getting put in above the EMAs. I look for the 8, the 21, and the 34 to be on the upper side, above the gray 183 EMA. So you wouldn't have been fooled if you had waited for that, right? Because they sort of laid on top of each other for a moment in time here. But that was already as things were curling back down and sort of threatening to cross over in a bearish formation again. And that's exactly what happened. So you would have easily been fooled by the candles, or shoot, if you got quick in, quick out, yeah, you could certainly make some money there. But I'm talking about trend reversal. This is not a trend reversal, right? It came down and made a lower low than it had popped off of, right? These swings, much, much lower low. This swing low here was about 250. So again, this most recent push, yeah, it got the 8, like just barely nudging its way through the 183, but then it pulled back and is pushing back off of it at the moment. The 8 has thrown a bearish crossover on the 21 and looks to be headed toward the 34. So we'll see if that continues to take place or not. But yeah, that's what it's looking like at the moment. But it still is within range, right? So if it can get some quick recovery here, maybe it gets a good catalyst. Some good news comes in for like EVs in general. I don't know. Maybe it's enough to push it to and through that 183 and drag all 3 of these EMAs with it. Not just the 8, not just the 21, but 8, 21, and 34. So we'll see if that can sort of take shape. Looking at the volume here, it's in sort of a little bit of a random thin zone here, with some shelving on top, shelving below. But we'll see how sticky this is from like mid 2s up to that approach to 3, basically, right? So you're sort of looking at the very obvious psychological levels of like 250 to 3. And who knows, it could hang around in that zone for a while too, which would further just sort of like situate it, consolidating just below the 183 EMA, which again may not be the worst thing in the world for it. It might actually sort of benefit it in the long run. Total profited shares about 41.5% or so. And order flow, there are some large scales coming in, sort of outpacing the large scale buys coming in, sort of outpacing in the last 5 trading days the large scale out orders. So we'll see if that also has any impact or not, but something maybe to keep an eye on there. Actually hadn't looked at any insider activity. So some folks, did he sell and then add? I don't know what exactly this is. This is not detailed enough for my liking. So we can look at that another time if folks are interested, or you could look that up on your own. Thinkorswim view on things. We see a trigger fire here that took the price action from it was triggering around 2 and that took that price up to like 350 plus. So good call up at the TTM squeeze indicator there. You see it was consolidating right in the mid-range, and then it busted through the upper bound of the channel all the way through and got rejected off of the call trigger for January. Now it's situated back to the mid-range again, sort of lower mid-range in the channel, but is once again triggering on the TTM squeeze indicator. So it has thrown some good triggers and fires in the past, and so we'll see if this amounts to anything. We do see, even though we have a couple of sort of recovery candles here, just by being green in nature, I mean, we do see, per the histogram on the TTM squeeze indicator, bearish momentum picking up. So we'll see how those things sort of play out. Also with it triggering when it fires, see if that sort of puts anything in motion. All right, folks, let me throw these back on in case you want to take one last look at these levels as they are. There's a bunch of them. I don't know that you need all of them. I'll zoom in so you can see the nearer in ones all the way up into the 5s. I hope that you've had a good weekend, and as always, I appreciate you watching, and I will see you in the next video.